remarkable performances across films. She has garnered interest from the very first debut, which is The Gangs of Wasipur. Most of you know about that. And her powerful performances in Tarla and Monica Oh My Darling, and her hit series Maharani. I'm sure you know more about her than this bio, but let me just say a little bit more. Huma has made a mark. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hello, my dear writer, come actor, come very, very accomplished, both of the above.
Check. Thank you so much. Thank you so
I
much.
read your book in 2 days, and you asked me earlier today, did you finish reading it? I absolutely did, because two things happen when an actor writes a book. The first is, I'm being honest, doubt. That, everyone writes a book today. I'm sure agents and even writers amongst us and enthusiastic writers know that in our community of friends and actors, everybody has a story to tell, or they believe they did, or they do. But in her case, my God, what a command over the language, what a flair for words. I was really impressed, and I'm saying this in complete honesty. So, you've played unconventional yet very powerful roles, and you have created an unconventional character in Zeba, what do you call her?
It's potato.
So in Zeba, who is a hijab-wearing, insolent, rebellious, yet fragile, and to an extent even naive superhero. What was the germination of this idea, and how did you decide to start writing a novel?
The honest answer is boredom. The genesis of this book happened during COVID, where I had all the time in the world and not knowing what I wanted to do with that time. And it's a very disturbing time for the world and also for my own mental health. And you grapple with a lot of things that you see in the world around you, a lot of injustices or a lot of gender-based violence, and just conversations about identity, who am I, what is my place, etc., etc. And I think I try and have a positive outlook towards life, and I was like, either I can just wallow in it, or I can take to Twitter, stroke X, and I don't know, just offend people, or I can do something more creative with it, and hence the book came out, and that's been the idea for it. I think it's just a very honest expression of what I was feeling at that point in time in a very entertaining format, because I feel like nobody wants to listen to Gyan, and everybody wants to always hear a story. And as an actor, I think I have understood in my career by working with amazing people and just my body of work, just the power of a great story. Power of a good story just told well can really move people, can really shape their ideas about life, can really influence change, especially popular stories. So I think that's the reason why I wrote it, and that's how it happened. So it's my COVID baby. All my friends were getting married during COVID. I decided to write a book.
But I know you write somewhere that you were filled with a lot of anxiety when your edits came back to you. I think the finest authors in the world go through that. But
listen, I didn't know. I thought I couldn't punctuate.
I know, I read that. That's how much I've read your book. I've read even your acknowledgements. But here's what I wanted to ask you. I'll just speak about the language part. I'll come to structure later, because your story is non-linear. And it's not easy to tell a story for a first-time writer in a non-linear fashion. And also yours is a first-person account. You're in every character's head, and you're writing as them. For a first-time author, this cannot have been easy. Therefore, my question is that, have you always been secretly writing a diary or short stories?
I've been journaling since the age of, I don't know, 12. So I have journals going back like my entire life, right? From like to-do lists to like how I'm feeling or the latest heartbreak or whatever else. Like everything goes into that dear diary. And I think journaling has really helped me sort of not just craft my own life and choices, but also like really like has helped with my own personal mental health. And this book actually came out from my early morning musings.
Wow. Morning pages.
Morning pages, basically. And yeah, and I didn't stop myself. So it's like, and as an actor, I think I'm trained to think like characters. I don't think I still understand structure, plot, all of that well. But I understand emotion, and I understand aspirations, and I understand dreams. And I think if these three things you give to any character and you ask them that question, like, okay, this is a character. Could be the evil king, could be this little girl, could be Khairun's character, could be the father, the mother. What do they want? What do they not have? And what will they do to achieve it? And I think once you answer these three basic questions, like life just becomes easier.
So through your multiple character narration, you figured this out for each of your characters, clearly. The other thing, and I don't know how many of you here are aspiring writers and how many of you are here because of her star power. But I'm going to ask writer-oriented questions first. We'll get those out of the way. You know, when you are trying to be in so many characters' head and you're writing as them, again, for a first-time fiction writer, the voice can become inconsistent. And how did you manage to balance that? How did you get that going so that every character sounded authentic to themselves?
I don't know what the answer to that is. I think
just your craft.
I try not to. I put myself out of the way. I really do believe that you don't write it. You just have to allow it to write through yourself. I do strongly believe that, and if you put yourself in that state of just flow, it happens. And I wish there was a way I said, okay, I woke up and then I did this, and there was a process to it. But there really isn't. I feel you have to allow things to happen to you. But yes, what did happen is that sometimes, for example, when I wrote the Great Dictators chapters, I mean that character, that individual is nothing like me, and I hate him because his politics is something I don't stand by at all. But it actually is the most delicious chapter according to me because it's just so like deliciously evil. And it was very liberating to write actually from that lens because for a second you have to forget, okay, this is Huma and this is what she thinks and this is how she grew up and all of that. But this person is nothing like that. In fact, he is the very antithesis of it. And just to allow yourself to like lean into his mind space was very, very like fascinating and liberating. And no holds barred.
That I could tell. You know, years ago, and I've repeated this question in a lot of conversations I've had with writers. I happened to have a very small gathering with Shantaram when he used to live in India. And we were led into his suite at the Four Seasons, which is where he was staying with his then girlfriend. And the walls of the suite were done like with photos ripped out of film magazines of actors, of all genres of character actors, mainstream actors, starlets, everything, the works. And of course, the whole room was also done to look like a chawl because I think that's his happy place based on his experience. And so I asked him, why do you have all these posters here of Sri Devi and Madhuri Dixit and all the young girls as well and guys, Rahul Bose? And he said that I need a visual before I start writing. I need a face before I start writing my character. And I base all my characters on these people. And then I make them talk to each other. And that tip I thought was really useful. It has helped me. But do you have a face to your characters or it's a blurry image? How does it start for you, the process, right at the beginning?
For me, it's always about like passion. So I always try and give each of my characters a hobby or a passion. Like say for example, if the great Khan is a glutton, he loves food. And he's obsessed with food and eating and whatever. So I think once you I put the idea of this gluttonous evil dictator and then so you understand the extravagance or the hunger that comes in his life, which will not stop at anything. So I kind of like use that. Or for Zeba, for example, if it's flying planes, Like, why does she like to fly planes? What is it about that? What does it do to her?
That came before you could visualize the characters?
I feel like
The
that came
passions
along
came-
with the character.
I see.
Like, it's like, if this is a person, like, what would she like to do? Like, I always like to find that one thing, when this character is bored and sitting at home, like, what would they lean towards? What are their thoughts? You know, like, when you're sitting, what does your mind chatter towards? I
Yeah.
feel that for me was the key. And then they can interact and talk
That's
to each
damn
other.
interesting, very interesting, yeah. So, you know, when you read this book, you realize in this novel, as you go through the character's journey, and there's a lot of back and forth, which I found very interesting actually, that there are certain issues that you've tackled that, and all writers do it, you feel really strongly about. So, right from geopolitics to democracy to anarchy, to patriarchy, misogyny.
It's a very fun book,
Mental
guys.
health.
Like,
No,
I'm telling you, it's a really
I'm coming to
fun
that.
book.
I think these are the parts that spoke to me, to mental health. All of these, in this fantastical world that you have created, so there's mythology, there's fantasy, there's a bit of mythology, right? There was a little Arabian Nights feel to it, right from the font. And then there is this story that's playing out in real time. Again, I think these are very complex things to manage present reality of the world we live in, along with in the backdrop of all of this is going on. Did it flow out of you naturally, or was there an effort involved in doing that? How did you marry all of these things together?
You know, I kept it fairly simple, barring like going into the past or whatever. Actually, my story is very time specific, because that's a period I understand really well, from like 1980s
yeah.
to 2019, literally just before the pandemic. And I think it's there because I think book number 2 will have something to do with it.
There is a book number 2. Well,
There is a book number 2. In fact, there's a hint of it in this book as well. So, spoiler alert. So I chickened out of one thing while writing this book. I didn't write the final chapter.
Yeah, I don't give that. I mean, I didn't want to give that away, so I didn't reveal that.
It's omitted. But then there's a chapter after the final chapter, so you do know what happens. It's not that you left completely. But yeah, so this final chapter is going to be book number 2.
And you've also, your bookmarks, that the post-its in there, one of them talks to the costume department. So, is there a show or a film in the works?
So, you know, this book actually originally had written like a 20-pager, which was a television pitch, which I did send to my agents in LA and was like, hey, can we, make a series or a film out of it? And they really responded wholeheartedly to it. But then, to make just diaspora films of a certain size are difficult, and this is obviously like a multi-million-dollar project with like superheroes and wars and time, different time
lavish
periods
sets and
and
everything.
lavish sets, and Beyonce has to make a guest appearance, and it's all there. All of that needs to
I have
happen.
to say
So-
the fun wedding reminded me of another fun wedding that we shan't speak about.
but I did write this before the wedding happened.
I figured that too. Yeah.
This book happened before the big wedding,
Yeah,
so I
quite
kind
prescient.
of predicted it, like The Simpsons.
I know, that's why I said prescient, yeah.
But yeah,
So have you started writing the next book already?
I have not, but I have an idea for it.
All
All
the
is
same characters, part 2?
Yes.
Because this has the potential to be, it could even be a graphic novel series, in the sense.
So that was another thing. When COVID happened, I did toy with the idea of making it into a graphic novel. I did speak to a bunch of people, but then the process of doing that was new to me, and I thought like collaborating with another person was going to take that much more time. So I was like, no, I have to do it, and I have to own up to it and take the responsibility. And a couple of my friends, Bilal and Sarita, they were like, you have to just do it yourself. You can write, just believe in yourself. I think as an actor, you sometimes get scared because I have interacted with some really amazing minds, writers and directors, and I just feel like there's so much more well-read and well-traveled, and the way they look at life is so much more deeper. Maybe, perhaps, I felt I was not ready yet to attempt it, but I do feel that everyone has a story to tell. If you lean in authentically and you allow your voice to flow, everyone has a story to tell about their own individualistic experiences and their way of looking at the world. This is mine. It's a little flawed, but it's really funny.
No, it's a lot of fun and a lot of crazy imagination. As an actor, when you did your first film, did you, and versus writing this book, did you feel self-conscious at any time? Did you worry about who would be reading it? Should I write this word? Should I omit it? What if my aunt reads it or mom reads it?
Panic attack. I literally had a panic attack. I called my agent, my literary agent Himali, the night before and said I've made a very big mistake. Because now people, they know what I look like and they know how I act and they know what my voice sounds like and now they know how I'll think. And that's like being the most vulnerable. Like people know how you think. Like that's just another level of it. And I obviously then went to like my mother's gonna read it. So my mother reading it was also very fascinating because you know what different people take away from the book is and she's a believer. You know, so she has a very different take to
philosophical.
it. Very philosophical. So I thought that's a very very interesting take that she had on the book.
So what is the most unheard of, unexpected feedback that you got on this?
Everyone thinks this is me, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
People think, oh, this is, you've written about yourself. Like, no, this is not me. Like, but it's a part of me, but not really me. But I think what everyone, I think it was expected, to be honest. I think I did expect people to enjoy the style.
Yeah.
I think I chose the style to be disruptive.
Right.
I didn't want to give it a classical novel feel.
Sanitized.
Yeah, I wanted to be something accessible. I wanted like young people to read it. I also wanted like older people to read it because it is based on a lot of like solid ideas about, like you said, democracy and gender and all of that. But I didn't want it to be like heavy and preachy. So I wanted it to be really, really accessible. So in a way, I expected that, and a lot of young, kids or younger people have taken to it, and they get a lot of like messages or DMs.
Yeah, this
about
would do very well with young adults as well. This really would. When you say you didn't want it to be preachy, most of us writers who feel strongly about things, and as a woman writer, I would say this. I actually have marked out those pages where you talk about women in the harem. The silencing of women through centuries, the misrepresentation and the idea that women have always been written about by men and from the male gaze, and it's sort of it happens in every area of life, from in every discipline, which is fashion, to cinema, to literature. It is the male perspective, and which is why we are strapped up in these really uncomfortable clothes. Like I always say, a bodysuit must have been designed a romper by a man, right? So there is, I think there is the collective consciousness of women at some level, at least women writers, is a little angry, and justifiably so, because it's the anger we've carried forward from generations. And then when you're writing, and there are moments of stream of consciousness when you just spill it all out. It's just coming out of you as it did, and it poured out very spontaneously. And again, it's not boring. It just happens in one and a half page here, which I think if you had more women in the audience, I would have asked you to read. It's beautiful, and it needs to be addressed. But as a writer, at least I can speak for myself, I tend to check myself and say, oh my God, have I oversaid it and killed the nuance of, the real stories of these people? So how do you strike that balance? Because you have managed to strike the balance.
I don't know. I feel like for me it was just about like calling it out more than like striking the balance.
There's a lot of calling out, and very justified, as I said.
Saying like, say for example, what she's referring to is that we always talk about the harem. And the moment I say harem, this idea of this place, which
belly
is
dancers,
like, belly dancers, and like shish
grapes,
and like grapes and like beautiful women and 1,000 or 10,000 concubines of
nymphs.
the emperor,
nymphs.
It's almost like this little delightful haven where all debaucherous things are happening. But I'm like whoever said it was like that? Because men were never allowed in the harem, but all the writers, historians, travelers of the time were all men. So these were what, just imaginations? Or perhaps if you like the emperor, you wrote about like, obviously we all know how men like to talk about their virility or all of those things. So in the book, the harem is actually a place for like an underground revolution that the women are leading, right under the king's nose, and he has no idea. And it's like a really fun place.
And there's Viagra, and there's calcium tablets. I love that part. Yeah.
Because then they don't want the king to come to the harem, so they replace his Viagra.
They switch his Viagra with calcium tablets, so he can no longer
do anything,
Have
and then he
coitus.
gets really embarrassed. He never comes back again, and now they're doing whatever they want to do.
That was just so clever. Yeah. What did you do any kind of research online to just recreate that world?
I have been a student of history, so I think I'm quite. I mean, I
have.
love reading about history and different periods and all of that. And I did do a little bit of research, and I think I wanted to, but I didn't want to again like base it to a particular area, region, culture, which is why we invented a kingdom. It's a kingdom called Khudir. So imagine if Nepal and Abu Dhabi had a baby, it would be Khudir. It's basically a oil-rich, landlocked kingdom up in the Himalayas. And with an evil king, so the geopolitics is very interesting. I mean, it's like, I don't know, India's worst dream, nightmare come true, if it ever happened.
If and when, and God willing, very soon, this becomes this adapted on screen, would you like to play Zeba?
I mean, if they come to me, I won't say no.
But if you were to cast somebody else, who would that be?
I think that'll be terribly miscast with anybody else.
Hint, hint.
I will have to do it, unfortunately, myself. But yeah, I will take one for the team.
But do you have an idea for who the evil king will be?
Oh wow, that would be fun. I think it's one of the best characters in the book. It's so like evil and.
Yeah, but you know Amrish Puri isn't around.
I'm sure the right candidate will present himself.
And what about the Bollywood heartthrob?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
We'll find out.
It's RK here, so they're.
Rais Khan.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Ranbir Kapoor.
No, it's not Rais Khan.
No, I thought it was just a euphemism for, yeah. Okay, so I just want to now go back a little bit to, there's one thing in here which you say that when did the calamity in your house, for example, on the LA fires just happened, and I spoke to a couple of my friends there who were just asked to evacuate. And I was wondering that, this is force majeure, and no one in any corner of the world is not threatened by it at some point or the other in their life. And I was wondering that if, God forbid, something like this happened to me, what would I run away with? What would I take in those last few minutes? And then, it's serendipity that 2-3 days after this thought of mine, Huma writes about it here, and she talks about what you are going to walk away with in those moments of, crisis and confusion is what defines who you are. What would you walk away with?
The thing is, what human beings are just people, I think, more than functional things. We are sentimental beings. And I think whether you're like a person who lives in LA or India or Syria or whichever part of the world, you will, I think, walk away with things that you find most precious to you emotionally. Perhaps it'll be some old photographs, I don't know. It'll definitely be my passport.
Yeah.
But I think definitely some photographs. And I had an aunt who passed away. I think I still have a shawl of her, so I will carry that. I mean, because I don't know, I think if you just have your credit card, maybe perhaps, I mean, those things are easy. But I feel like there are certain things that money cannot buy or replace. I think if your house burns down, the idea is not just the monetary value of that. It's about the emotions, what you build it with, the things you put into it. So maybe an insurance company can cover it, or maybe you can build a house in another country. But those memories, with that place, they can never be sort of bought or recreated. And I think, hence, like, even in our country, the scars of partition can never be sort of forgiven or forgotten rather. Yeah. Because it's your home that you've been displaced from, and it's wrong for any people in any part of the world to be displaced from what they think is their home.
And we know what's going on right now. Yeah, that's a very mature and very sweet answer. I'm afraid, like,
the honest answer. Yeah. I mean, I would walk away with something that really means something to me, because I can buy, I don't know, food, I can buy water. I mean, if I have my passport, hopefully I can travel anywhere.
Absolutely true. So can you talk a little bit about your growing years, your childhood in Delhi, and how did Bollywood happen to you?
I grew up as the only Muslim kid in a Punjabi household, in a Punjabi neighborhood. So I grew up Punjabi. I don't have a drop of Punjabi blood. My mother's Kashmiri, my dad is from Delhi, but my Atma is Punjabi, as any South Delhi kid will tell you. And my biggest thing used to be when I would not get permission to go out party or stay up late at night, I was like, but I want to be Punjabi. Like, all my Punjabi friends are so cool. I think that was my biggest grouse. And yeah, Bollywood happened. I don't know. I think I was in Gargi College studying history honors when I figured that theatre was like something I enjoyed doing. Then I joined a group called Act One, which was sort of like a big turning point in my life where I realized that this is something which takes care of my attention problem. Like suddenly I don't have to like really go and talk to every kid in the class. I can just go perform on stage and they'll come and talk to you. And I was like, oh, problem solved. And also I think honestly speaking, I'm an introvert who pretends to be an extrovert, and playing different characters helps me hide behind what those characters are doing, and also like express myself more willingly. Like perhaps if somebody were to upset me, I may hold myself back or be restrained in my approach towards like talking to them. But as a character, I can do whatever, and I think that's like really like cathartic and really enjoyable to hide behind other characters.
So then, when did you decide to then move to Bombay?
Just after college. I think when I was doing college and doing theatre, I started getting a lot of calls for auditions, and I was like,
From here?
from here. And I was quite kicked about it because as a Delhi middle class kid to get calls for auditions was quite a cool thing. And my dad thought it was a prostitution racket that they were trying to hoodwink me into. So it took me a long time to say, no, really, I think I'm a good actor, and like maybe some casting directors are calling me, so maybe we should give it a shot. And I think after about a year of trying to convince him, I moved, and yeah, then I had no work for another year, as is the case. All luck dries up, but I've been fairly fortunate. I think I started doing a lot of commercials. Got my first film, Gangs of Wasseypur, through a commercial that I had done with Mr. Amir Khan for a mobile company, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
So this is very interesting that it's been, a fairly smooth journey, and I'm not undermining what it might have been, but it sounds like a very pleasant journey into Bollywood that you were talking about for a rank outsider.
I would say, so my journey has been slightly different. I know most people have stories about how they, had difficulty getting that first opportunity.
Yeah.
I think for me, my first opportunity happened fairly easily. I think my struggle really began after that, because I feel like you realize that yes, sometimes it's easy. I do believe, and I still believe that about myself. I can chat with anyone, and I do feel that because of my upbringing or education or just the fact that I'm a decent looking girl.
And you're Punjabi, that's
and I'm
right.
Punjabi, so I can talk to anyone. Like we have that large-hearted North Indian openness where we are over familiar with whoever we talk to. Yeah, we're just over familiar people.
Right.
And then everyone gets a bit taken aback by like that. And I think so. I mean, doors opened fairly easily, but I feel after that I was a bit confused, and also like I think in my journey as an artist, I had to go through those few years of confusion about what kind of films I wanted to do and what kind of work I wanted to do, and that was a far more like a difficult journey for me. Then
Because stereotyping and typecasting happens even today, does it?
100%.
And does it happen more for women?
I think so, yes. It happens for men as well, but I think popular media journalists are far more unkinder to women. Whether it could be their age, whether it could be their bodies, whether it could be hell, somebody decides to get pregnant. Like there's always like a very, very toxic lens
Yeah.
on everything. And I find that to be extremely disturbing and offensive, but I mean, what can one do? One can keep continuously calling it out through your actions and your body of work and your choices.
So, your oof speaks for itself. And you did a film on body positivity as well. I think that most creative people have a very thin skin. Maybe your character will have a thin skin because you don't want to admit it here. But when when you are just so open to criticism, not open to criticism, but you're just every work of yours is so out there for people to scrutinize and analyze and throw bouquets or brickbats at. How do you not internalize that? Whether somebody because you did a movie on body positivity, did some incident happen that made you want to do that? Was there some observation you felt that you needed to change the narrative? What was it?
I think as a woman, your life, you walk down the road in any city in this country,
Too fat or too thin.
you know, there's always like a label that they're ready to put on you. Too fat, too thin, too tall, too short, too dusky, too fair, too curly hair, too short, too outspoken, too bossy, you know, too strong, too many opinions, too ambitious. शादी नहीं होगी, इतनी पढ़ाई कर लेगी तो लड़का कहाँ मिलेगा? So these are just things we just normalize.
Yeah.
And we're constantly gaslighting ourselves
Yeah.
and people around us. And I feel like I have grown up with that, and I think perhaps you know, at some point realized I didn't want to be part of that cycle.
Yeah.
You know, I decided to drop out of it. And it's not that I'm still not part of perpetuating some form of something.
Yeah.
But mostly I think I'm quite self-aware in that sense, and I feel like if I have had an experience and I have a platform today, I want to talk about it. I want to at least, and I'm not saying I'm always right, I could not have, but I can share my lived experience with you.
Yeah.
You know, and which is why whether it's a film of mine, like I could do a film like Monica or My Darling, where I'm
Yeah.
playing like an out and out like
Yeah.
bad woman, you know,
Right.
who's like using men and
Vamp.
using a no, and vamp, exactly. And I remember doing this interview with a very senior journalist, and she was like, "Oh, you're playing a vamp," and I was like, "Excuse me."
Without the quotes.
And I was like, "Excuse me, Monica, you know, this entire cast is sitting over here. They all are horrible human beings in this film.
Yeah.
You're not giving."
But I'm the vamp.
But I'm the vamp. Why is he not the villain?
Yeah.
And just because I'm a woman, you're calling me a vamp because I'm using my body to get what I want, so I must be the bad aurat.
Yeah.
And she was the woman who said that. So I feel like, but people don't realize when they say these things, but one has to keep calling it out, and in a fun way, because I don't think, like I feel, of course, while the bra burning feminism era was very important, I feel like in today's
It's
day
more
and
nuanced
age,
now.
it's more nuanced now, and I feel like I want to do it with a bit of sass and a dash of humor,
Yeah.
as opposed to being aggressive.
Exactly
and
like
angry
your
about it.
superhero.
Exactly like my superhero.
So would you like to read something out from it before we open it up to the audience?
Do you have a suggestion, since you have quite a few favorites? You have
Yeah, I know.
doggy marked.
Doggy market.
I've never been happy when someone's doggy marks my book.
Let's read something fun though, because these boys will all go away otherwise. Oh, describe the harem.
Yeah, let's go. The harem, they'll get bored.
The Khan.
The Khan.
I actually marked this very moving part, but his tongue is sticking around, but that's sad. Why didn't you do something?
Funny or serious, guys? Give me a suggestion.
Whatever is your favorite.
You're asking a mother to choose from her children.
You could read a bit of both. Why choose?
I raised my head to catch my breath and see my reflection in the small hanging mirror. The forehead Botox and the under eye fillers need a little touch up. Must call in Dr. Simon before the guests arrive. A little prickly prick and the ears will melt away. Just in time for my son's, my dear Basam's wedding. I ring for the attendants to come in and dress me and perfume me and powder me. They arrive promptly and lead me to my changing suites. I enjoy watching them fuss over me now. For so many years, I have ruled this great land and lived life on my terms, traveled the world, shook hands with all those proud prime ministers and presidents, all idiots trying to woo me for my oil reserves. These seasonal faggots have changed over the years, but a king is a king. This is why I always liked the old queen in London. She and I share a kinship, a bond. The king of a nearby kingdom had often been a guest at Khudi. But then there was some drama about a deranged family member walking in and shooting down the whole royal family. And the kingdom became a democracy. Sad business. I will never let something like that happen in Khudir. Democracy? Elections? Over my dead body. Khudir is special. An unbroken line of Arkoons have ruled this land, and today Khudir has become a power player. And it's going to remain this way. And I will ensure that both Khudir and I, as king of Khudir, stay in power for eternity. Our older tribal kings did not have much political clout. They were often terrorized by our mighty neighbors until I, the great Khan, got those losers to behave. Me, I am the great first true leader this land has ever seen. And whatever people say, I'm not some crazy monster chopping up my enemies and feeding them to unassuming guests in some royal banquet. That would be haram. I'm not like that crazy Bokassa or that Idi Amin. I'm not a beast. I just feed traitors to hungry wildcats.
You had fun writing this. I can see that. I had fun having it read out as well. One last question. May I ask her? Then over to you guys. Who are the authors who have influenced your writing?
Loads. Is it still fashionable to say J.K. Rowling? But yeah, J.K. Rowling. Arundhati Roy. Jhumpa Lahiri. I mean, I know I'm saying all female names, but like they really have. I mean, I as a kid read everything, you know, from Eden Blyton to all the Nancy Drews of the world, and even now I read everything. So,
thank you. All right then, we can pass the mic around.
Yes. Who would like to start the
they're stunned into silence.
yes, silence?
Question.
Hi, I'm Sarthak. I'm also from Delhi, so. So actually, I have a two-part question. So firstly, I wanted to ask you, for your Bollywood debut was with Gangs of Wasseypur, right? So that was a very bold choice for a, you know, for you to do a movie like that, and you know the kind of role that it was. But do you think that sort of was the reason why that catapulted you into the career that you took up? And then related to the book also, I wanted to know if a character like that in that movie was somewhere in your mind when you wrote this book.
So Gangs of Wasseypur happened because I don't think I had a choice in the matter. You know, first you don't get to choose as an outsider your first film. You pick what you get. After that, I think perhaps if that film does well, then you get some kind of illusion of choice. But you don't get to choose your first film. And I don't know, I think back then I didn't know if I could write or should write. To be honest, although I always wrote as a young girl, and when I think I was about 14 years old, I attempted to write a novel for my brother as a birthday gift. And I made the mistake of getting an older cousin to read it. And my cousin was like, you can't give this to your younger brother. I said, why not? Because every 2 pages someone dies. So I don't know where, I've lost that book now, but I think perhaps it had something. We'll never know. Not really, but I definitely have been very influenced by all the people I have worked with. So whether it's been Mr. Anurag Kashyap, Mr. Sriram Raghavan, Vasan Bala, Abhishek Chaubey, Mr. Zack Snyder, you know, these are people I've been really influenced by because they've been just great creative minds and visually also very, very strong people. So when you're discussing characters with them, or how they write their stories, or how they decide to like shoot a scene, you know, it really does affect you because you understand like what are they thinking, and you know, like their mind works very differently from regular people that I had interacted with before. So I think I have really absorbed their processes somehow more than just character specifics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Anybody else would like to say something?
Hi Huma, huge fan, and congratulations for your book. Now you are a versatile actor. You are a writer. Are you gonna be directing too?
Well, I've turned producer. Would I like to direct? Yeah, maybe I'd like to direct someday. Not yet. But I'll make really like, I want to make rom-coms.
Lovely. We miss rom-coms nowadays.
I think people don't make them anymore, yeah, but like, you know?
Okay.
Female gaze.
Yes, another question I will ask. What's more tough, being an actor or being a writer?
Being a writer also pays much lesser. Way lesser. No, really, and I don't say that's a joke. Like, literally, when I did my contract and like all of that happened, and I was like, and I think I got a pretty good deal, like, you know, considering I'm an actor. So I was like, bus? Seriously? मैं कहा इतनी मेहनत और इतने कम पैसे, and I really feel like we need to definitely do something more about this in terms of the writing community, because there's a lot of work that goes in, and I don't think just by being a writer you can sustain. Like I don't know how that's going to happen. So it's I feel like something needs to be done about it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to ask? Please introduce.
I am Chirag. So, as an actor and now a writer, I want to ask you, what do you think about the disparity between digital media and written media today? Like written media, do you think somewhere it's dying when it's compared to something like digital media?
Yeah, I think the way in which we're consuming content is changing for sure. Perhaps today, like, you know, most people are reading on a Kindle but not really buying like books. I find that very sad because I love the idea of going to a bookstore and actually getting like a physical copy of the book. I have a huge library at my place, like literally I have a Duplay. So as you turn, like this thing is just all my books, like from, I don't know, when I was a kid, all like stacked up. So I love the idea of just having like paper, but that's just me, and I'm a bit of a romantic in that sense. I don't think it'll ever go away. I feel like, I mean, yeah, for example, like more people will be, I don't know, hooked onto some app or get some technology which will make it more easier because, you know, like for example, I'll tell you my case. When I started traveling, I used to travel with my books. But to carry 12 books in your suitcase is kind of like impossible. And now I have switched to reading on a Kindle, and it just makes life easier. But that doesn't mean I'll stop reading altogether. Like the written word is just beautiful, right? Because you read just a few scribbles on a piece of paper and it just evokes some imagery in your head, and I find that like almost like a magical thing.
Yes, there are more questions. Can you just pass the mic, please?
I'm popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard you speak at the Kolkata Literary Meet last year. I had interviewed you then. The book has been out for a while and you've been traveling to literature festivals. What has this done to your self-identity? Like, is there a way of thinking about yourself as an author? Because it's not just about the book, right? There's so much that goes around it. Now you're not just commenting on your roles, but do you feel a sense of community with other writers when you go to literature festival? What kind of conversations do you have with people?
Honest confession, it makes me feel very cool. I feel like, must be smart. Oh, I've written a book now. No, I mean, to be honest, like, this has been a huge honor. Like, as a little girl, I remember one of the things that I set myself to achieve was to write a book and also attend, yes. Because, I mean, I think it just started, and when I was in school, and it was like the coolest thing at that point in time, and I was like, "Wah, ek din mujhe wahan jana hai." So I think I kind of made it. So I think this is a reflection, at least for me as a little girl. Like, if you set your intention to something, like, it'll happen. I can't even tell you, my parents are so proud. Like, I don't think any film that I've done or any award that I won has made them as proud as to the fact that I've written a book. Like, our daughter's written a book. I feel it kind of makes them feel that all the education, all the time, money they spent on it has come to something. Yeah, wasn't in vain.
So that's very good. Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
pass it there, please. Yeah.
Hi, Huma. I'm Vishal. Two questions, very different. First,
एक ही जगह जवाब तो चलेगा?
हाँ, हाँ.
हाँ, मैं confused हो जाती हूँ थोड़ा.
हाँ, हाँ,
Attention
कोई
span
नहीं.
is like a goldfish.
कोई नहीं. I enjoyed that brief bit that you read. It reminded me of Sacha Cohen's character in The Great Dictator, General Aladdin. So that was funny. So I'm very curious.
You could cast him.
Great.
In fact, in one of the sketches, there's a sketch where he looks like Sacha Cohen.
Oh, he does. So
Yes.
yeah, that's one of my favorite
There's a
movies.
graphic in there.
Yeah.
It's just so timely these days. The second is very different because I am an AI engineer. I'm just visiting from London. Are you worried that very soon this book is going to be in a model, and it could be spawning various sequels in the character? And I think I have some friends who are just hobbyist writers and just write books and topics, and they're a little worried about this. I'm sure. I mean, may not be as worrisome to you because you've got other career, opportunities. But a lot of them, as you said, as a writer, are feeling threatened, or you're going to get an army of armchair writers.
So you're saying, like, what you're saying is AI is now going to write for us.
it's
It's
happening.
never going to happen.
I agree, I'm with you, but if you look at the amount of books that are showing up on Amazon, on Kindle, especially on the soft model, it's just crazy. So I just wanted to know your objective, and I am with you. Creativity cannot be created, so yeah.
I mean, that's one way of putting it. I also feel like the beautiful thing about, and I was just chatting with Rohan who was here earlier about this. I was like, what's fascinating is that today, and we were talking about the stand-up scene. So anyway, but to also connect it to this was like, the beautiful thing about writing is that you have people from different walks of life, different countries, different experiences, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, talking about their very specific lived experience, right? Like me and my brother, we've grown up in the same house, right? They could have been a death of, say, for example, my grandfather, but the way it affected me and him or my father, very different. We have different perceptions of it. It's like this, saying the glass is half full or half empty. And that is such a human thing to do. I don't think AI will ever, AI I think should be used for better things like, I don't know, running companies better or figuring out how we can distribute wealth equally, more fairly in the world. Maybe it should take the job of CEOs and do organization better as opposed to like worry about creativity. I think let creativity be a human experience, as opposed to like burdening AI with it. I think AI it will evolve as we go along, but the way I look at it is like, and it will be definitely a very important part of our lives. But let's learn to harness it like fire. Fire can be used to cook a meal, but it can also burn someone's house. It depends on how we use it, and I think that responsibility has to come from the human consciousness.
It's getting much smarter. As you feed it more and more stuff, immediately.
Different than paying for sex.
See, there goes your awfully witty answer.
Take one more question. Huma, so it might have been easy for you to just say, okay, I'm an actor, I can write a book, but why not just do an autobiography or, that could sell as
No
well.
autobiography, and I swear I will slit my wrist. I have nothing interesting to talk about my life. It's so boring. I have not even done anything like, I don't know, save the, wild forest or something. Like, what
Because
will I write about?
you mentioned that the money you made from this was so less compared to what you've been doing. Let's say an autobiography would have been talking about something that you've done in your career already.
We only are interested in affairs. That's all. Scandals.
So how big a risk was this from that point of view?
Honestly, I don't think I wrote it for the money. I think it was just about self-expression in the most honest way. Like, my team is always upset with me because, like, as an actor, I get paid to go to gigs and I get paid to go to birthday parties and falana and all of that. And sure, but I feel like this I do because this is something that I enjoy doing. This is that part of my life that nourishes me. It's got nothing to do with either making money or doing anything else. And I feel like that is something that, I don't know, maybe my work as an actor was not giving me, so it's fulfilling some other need inside me. But it is very important. So it's that. An autobiography, I don't think I'd want to write because I don't think I've done anything so remarkable that people want to know what it is. Maybe once I die, they can release my journals.
Thank you so much. I'm myself finding it so interesting. It's hard to be objective when you're enjoying a conversation. But I think overall, what a lovely sparkling conversation between Shonali
And thanks to
Huma.
her, if I may, lovely questions, and thank you for reading my book. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I didn't know, sometimes I was just listening to you saying, hey, कितना अच्छा सवाल पूछा है.
Yeah, but I'm sure each one of you listening right now would have.
फैंटेसी फिक्शन नॉवल है, हार्पर कॉलिंस ने पब्लिश की है. एक स्टोरी है अबाउट फीमेल सुपर हीरो हु सेव्स द वर्ल्ड. I was obsessed with the ideas of misfits saving the world. So Zeba is a misfit, completely कहीं fit नहीं होती है, and then how she becomes a superhero. That's the story.
Since ये आपका डेब्यू नॉवल है, आप जब ये बुक लिख रहे थे, कौन सा एलिमेंट ऐसा था जो आप सबसे ज़्यादा यूज़ करना चाहते थे होल पे?
I think just about fun. I think it's a really funny book, and I wanted a lot of like people to read it, and it talks about some very complex issues, but in a very very light-hearted, fun manner. And I wanted a lot of young people to read it and really identify with it.
Ma'am, when we talk about your books, what more books you're looking forward to reading?
To reading lots of books. I think I'm really inspired by a lot of like the new Japanese writers. So whether it's Yellowface or Butter, all of these books I really want to like. I've bought them, but I still have to read them.
जयपुर लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल में ये बुक भी आने वाला है
जी।
and then लोग जानने वाले हैं
जी।
क्या? कितनी एक्साइटेड है आप?
बहुत एक्साइटेड हूँ। जब मैं छोटी थी तब से मेरा सपना था कि कभी मैं कोई किताब लिखूँ और मुझे जयपुर लिट फेस्टिवल में आने का मौका मिले। मैं बहुत छोटी थी तब, आई थिंक पहली बार शुरू हुआ था ये। एंड दिस इज़ गोइंग टू बी द 18th ईयर ऑफ द जयपुर लिट फेस्ट एंड आई एम सो हैप्पी दैट टुडे आई एम हियर एट द सोहो हाउस एंड एक हम बहुत ही स्पेशल इवनिंग सब शेयर कर पा रहे हैं। और 2nd of Feb को मैं आपको फिर मिलूँगी जयपुर में एक्चुअल फेस्टिवल पे।
कहते हैं जब एक बुक आती है पब्लिश होती है तो लोग काफ़ी ज़्यादा पसंद करते हैं एज एक्टर। सेकंड बुक भी आने की तैयारी होने वाली है कि नहीं?
इंशाल्लाह, मतलब आई वुड लव टू राइट अ सेकंड बुक। थोड़ा सा समय मिल जाए बस बाकी शूटिंग के असाइनमेंट के बीच में से। पहली किताब मैंने कोविड के जो 2 साल थे उस वक्फे में लिखी, तो काफ़ी समय मिल गया। अभी इतना समय मिल नहीं पा रहा है क्योंकि मैं काफ़ी शूटिंग कर रही हूँ, बट आई रियली रियली वांट टू राइट अनदर बुक एंड ऑल्सो कन्वर्ट दिस बुक इनटू अ फिल्म।
क्या कुछ कहना चाहेंगे अपने ऑडियंस को?
मैं सिर्फ ये बोलना चाहूँगी गाइज, माई बुक ज़ीबा इज़ अवेलेबल ऑन Amazon, on Crossword, on the bookstore near you. So please order it. It's a really fun read, and I'm so proud to start my journey as an author now. And I'm so proud that HarperCollins has chosen to publish this book, and it's getting so much love. And I'm going to see you at the Jaipur Lit Festival. I'm going to be there on the 2nd of Feb, so see you there. Thank you. Done? Thank you.